Hi there everybody, and welcome to this session where we're going to take a look at if. So this is just a very quick review session on ifs. So in front of me on the screen here, as you can see, we have an already completed program and we are implementing multiple ifs in this code here. So if we quickly run through the code to explain both the if and what the code was doing. Just right at the top here, you can see we have two integer variables, value 1, value 2. Value 1 is initialized to 10 and value 2 is initialized to 20. Both of them are, of course, integer variables. So then we get to our first if in the code. Now very quickly, how does the if work? If is a selection structure. It gives you decision making in your code. So basically next to the if in parentheses, rounded brackets, you create a conditional statement which can either be true or false. And if this statement is true, the if will execute. So whatever code you have inside the body of the if, there's the beginning and the end of the body. So whatever code you have, and you can have many lines of code. It doesn't have to be just one. So if you have whatever code that's there will be executed top to bottom one time through, and that's it. Then the if is done, it will move on to whatever's after. Line 15 is empty, so it ignores and moves on to line 16, which is the second if. However, when it was up here and it evaluated this conditional statement and it found it to be false, then the if will be jumped over immediately, meaning the code inside that if will not even execute once. We'll immediately move on to the next if. Alright, so what happens inside this conditional statement is usually there's a relativity operator there, a relative operator, excuse me. So something like less than, more than, equal to, not equal to, less than or equal to, more than or equal to. Those are the typical ones that we work with. So it will just do a comparison. Is value less than 10? Well, we initialized value to 10, so 10 is not less than 10. So in fact, this conditional statement should be false based on that initial value for value 1. So I do not expect to see this string on the output screen. I do not expect this printf to run or to execute because the if did not execute, and this printf is in the body of the if. Alright. So then let's move on to the next statement. Now that we see how the if works, I'm going to move up a little bit the tempo. So we're just looking basically at the conditional statement to see if that printf inside the if will appear on the screen or not. We'll make our prediction and I'll run the code to see if we did it correct. So value 1 is 10, so remember that. So we're comparing here. Remember, this is the equality operator. Equal to is the equality operator to compare true or false comparison, left to the right hand, the left operand to the right operand. Okay, not single equal to. Alright, please, this is a big not. And I'm pointing it out here since we see it a lot of beginner students make this mistake. Inside the if, they will say value 1 equal to 10. Now this is the assignment operator. That's not equal to. This is not a comparison. This is a writing operation. You are writing 10 into value 1. Okay, so if you want to compare for true or false, then you say equal to. Now it's a comparative operator. Okay, or operation. Okay, so is value 1 equal to 20? Yes, it is. We've initialized it to 10. So I expect to see this string on the screen, the second if ran. Okay, that if is done. We move on to the third if. Is value 1 more than 10? This is false, so I do not expect to see the third if ran on the screen. Then we're going to print out a nice divider here on the output screen, these equal to signs, and an and in between. This is just to say the results that you'll see on the output screen from here on down will come from the ifs where we've implemented the Boolean AND operator. Okay, what is that? Let's look at this first if. Okay, so in this first if now I have two statements. There's one statement and there's another statement in those brackets. So I have a statement value 1 less than 10. I have another statement value 2 less than 20. And then between these two statements I have an ampersand and an ampersand again. So these two symbols right next to each other like this is the Boolean AND operator. So the purpose is not now to go and run through that operator. If you have to, you can just go and look at Boolean logic, or how does the AND operator perform, and you will very quickly see a map for that. Just please note, you have to encapsulate this entire statement with another bracket. So there's the first bracket and there's the last bracket. That will encapsulate this entire combined statement, if you will, or composite statement. Okay, so we are combining the two statements with an ampersand. Now just a note here, you are not limited to only two statements. In fact, I can keep on going and add another ampersand and another statement there. I can even mix it up. So we haven't gotten to the OR, but if I do want to put in an OR, that's the operand for the OR, and then I can put a statement there. So you're not by any means limited to two statements. Okay, so that's just for a side note quickly. So now with the AND, both needs to be true to get it true. So let's see, value 1 less than 10. If we just scroll back up again, value 1 is 10, value 2 is 20. So this is false, that is false. False and false will give us a false. I do not expect to see that the first if ran after the AND divider on the screen. This here is true, value 1 is 10, yes, but this here is false, value 2 is not less than 20. So true and false, I don't expect, it gives you a false, so I don't expect to see the second if ran. Value 1 more than 10, value 1 more than 10 and value 2 less than 20. This is a false and this is a false again. So I do not expect to see the third if ran. Value 1 less than 10, value 2 equals to 20. This is false, this is true, giving us a false, so I do not expect to see the fourth if ran. Then value 1 equal to 10, value 2 equal to 20. Yes, this is true, this is true, true and true will give us a true. So I expect to see the fifth if ran on the screen. Then if we keep on going, this one is false, that one is true. False and true gives us false. Do not expect sixth one to run. This is false, this is false, false and false is false. So I do not expect the seventh one. This is true and this one is false. Once again giving us a false. The eighth one I do not expect to run. And both of these are false. False and false is false, so I do not expect the ninth one to run either. So my money is on this guy here. Will run. Okay. And just scrolling back up to that first one, we said our money is on this one. Will run. Okay, so at the end we'll go and see if our understanding matches the output of the computer program. Okay, then we have another printf here that will just create a divider on the console window with a heading of OR. So from this line down, the outputs that we'll see is based on the OR operation, the OR Boolean operator inside the if. So if you look at this first if again, you can see that we once again have two statements. There's a statement and there's a statement. But this time we've combined them with an OR operator. So that those two vertical lines represent the OR operator, and don't forget to encapsulate the entire statement. So this is value 1 less than 10 or value 2 less than 20. So let's go and evaluate each independently. So that's false, that's false. False or false will give us false. That's the only false you'll get, the only possible false you'll get for a OR gate if you have two operands, of course. So any other combination, true, false, false, true, true, true will give us a true. Okay, let's see the next one. This is true, this is false. I expect to see this one. Just going to put that there. Will run. And then I'm going to quickly copy that to memory. This is false, that is false. I do not expect that to run. This is false, this is true. I expect this one to run. This is true and true. I expect this one to run. That one is false, this is true, so I expect that one to run. Both of these are false, I do not expect it to run. One of them is false, true, this one is true, that one is false. True or false gives us a true. And this is false, I do not expect that one to run. So I have quite a number here that will run in the OR. The second, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, seventh, and eighth. Alright, and then we're at the end of our program. All these ifs, by the way, have been stacked, meaning one after the other. This if will run, and only after it's done, then this if will run. Meaning, whether this if ran or not has no influence on whether this if will run or not. Okay, unlike if I put another if inside this if. I'm not going to complete the if though. So this inner if is nested inside the outer if. Now, when you do this, you create a dependency between the two ifs, especially a dependency on the inner if. The inner if will never run if the outer if did not run. The inner if might run if the outer if did run. So you can know if the outer if does not run, the inner if will never even run. Doesn't matter whether its statement is true or false, because it's inside the body of the outer if. That will only be reached, this if will only be considered to run or be reached by a program if the outer if was true in the first place. So we're creating a dependency, and it also means that you can know when this if is reached, that means the outer if's condition is true and that the outer if then ran. So you can actually create some conclusions or deductions, or you can apply some limitations to the conditional statement that you write here. For example, if you check to see if a user provided valid input with this conditional statement, then here you don't have to check that again. Here you can just assume, listen, the input is valid, so here I can just keep on going with the rest of my tests that I want to perform. Okay, so that's the advantage of nesting one structure inside another. Of course, it can get a bit complex and difficult to read, one of the disadvantages, if you will. Okay, let's run this code here and let's see. So we have the second if will run, and we see it up there. Then let me scroll down here. We said the fifth if will run. The fifth if ran under the and under the or we had a couple. Second, fourth, fifth, sixth, and eighth. Second, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. Let's just see. I don't see the seventh here. Let's quickly take a look at that one. Okay, yeah, this I erroneously said it will run. That's false. That's false. False or false is still false. Okay, so the seventh one is not running, and we can see that on the output screen. Alright, so that's it for the presentation. Then I have a quick exercise I would like you guys to do. Using the code that you can see here, just basically create one integer variable value 1, initialize it to 10, and then capture a user score from 0 to 100. So the range that the user should give is somewhere between 0 and 100. That represents test score, and then using an if, test to see if it's a fail score or a pass score, and give that feedback to the user. So print fail to the screen if the score is less than 50, or print pass to the screen if the score is 50 to 100. Alright, if you want to add a little bit to this, you can further go and check for the validity of the user input. So what does that mean? A valid input is 0 to 100. Any input, any value outside that range is invalid. So it should not even give us a fail or a pass for an invalid input. You can just print something like invalid or invalid input to the user if you want to do this extra exercise. Alright guys, that's it for this one. Enjoy.